I want to welcome you to the March 8th, 2012 Longview City Council meeting. We appreciate the group of people that are here tonight, and with the weather outside like it is, we hope the lights don't go out, but they had flickered a time or two already. So anyway, we appreciate y'all being here tonight. Tonight, our prayer and pledge will be led by Nathan Wood, Senior Class President of Pine Tree High School. Please stand.
Would you bow with me? Lord, eternal God, we are about to begin this meeting and do so with the awareness that without your presence here at the center of this meeting, and also within our lives, our work would be empty. Fill our leaders with your wisdom and guidance. Gift them with your humor and humility, and help them to accomplish the tasks set before them. Thank you for your guidance today. Amen.
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 Move up, keep moving around. Okay, this side as well. Okay. All right, Nathan, go ahead.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank y'all for being here tonight. Thanks, Nathan. Okay. There's I think there's a few more chairs if y'all want to come in and sit. That way we're going to have y'all held until the meeting's over. There you go. There we go. Okay, Council, tonight our citizen comment, we have one speaker card. Our friend Mr. Vic Verma's here tonight. What's up, Vic?
Mayor Dean.
Man, it's all good and it's all you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right.
I had a couple comments on a couple issues real quick, the hotel tax and the low-income housing. As I was thinking about the hotel motel tax increase that's being proposed, often it's discussed as something that just, it only has an effect on those coming from out of town and not in town. But in our community, in a lot of cases, we have a lot of folks who are less fortunate or transient or going from place to place, who may be living in motels on a temporary basis, and this tax would affect them. And so I would ask the question, is it fair to place a burden on this group of people? This may not be an issue, as I said, for those coming from out of town, but it can affect those locally who can least afford it. I do hope that the City Council addresses this issue as it moves forward with deliberations on the increase in the hotel motel tax rate. With regards to low-income housing, I read it with dismay Councilman Allen's comment, quote, that appeared to express concern that a low-income housing development is being placed in a desirable part of town. I mean, this leads me to ask a couple questions. Does this mean that there are certain parts of town that are considered above the community and shouldn't be hosting a low-income housing development? Does it mean those in the low-income housing should be segregated into certain parts of town or not to be seen or heard? And shouldn't we really applaud when the community shares in such an effort, as is the case with the project at McCain and Hawkins, I believe? Those are my comments.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Ms. Allen.
Mr. Berman, the purpose of these projects is to redevelop an area. The area that they propose to put this is not an area that needs redeveloping. It's a high rental, high income area that people are waiting and standing to purchase this. The purpose of the project is to redevelop an area. Where they're putting the project is not an area that needs to be redeveloped.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Sims.
Comment on the motel hotel tax. Last week I made reservations in Sherman at a motel for next year's 60th high school reunion. Yeah, I'm getting old.
Well, you didn't have to tell us the whole story, John.
So as an afterthought, I asked the young lady, I said, what is the tax for motel and hotel? And she said 13 cents. So Sherman's about 35 to 40,000, about half big as Longview. And I know a few years ago, I marveled at what I had to pay in New York City, 25 cents. So,
Okay.
And I understand that and I respect that. I just wanted to make sure that that issue at least also got addressed, because a lot of times, because I agree with you, in a lot of towns, the hotel motel tax is much higher than it is in Longview. But it's often discussed, well, someone else is paying for it and they're coming from somewhere else, but that's not always the case.
Okay.
And real quick on the low-income housing, I understand with respect to redevelopment, my only point was that there are areas where there's a project desired. It shouldn't be limited to one side of town if someone
Vic, I
wants to
think,
put something
not-
somewhere
you know,
else.
I think what our housing department does, what we do with all these CDBG funds, is to try to get to those people that need the low-income housing, et cetera. In this particular case, I think even though I disagreed, Mr. Allen felt like the particular location for this project maybe didn't need that type of housing, but in reality is it was being pursued by the ownership of that particular development, so I think that's why council supported it. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, council, let's see here. We have presentation items, and I hope that dais doesn't get worn out tonight, but we're going to start off with a proclamation declaring March as National Red Cross Week, okay? Or excuse me, month. Okay. We have the month. Month, excuse me. We'll let y'all do this the whole month. Who from the Red Cross is going to come up? I'll be up here by myself. Lonesome up here on this dais. Come on up here. Come on. How you doing?
Fine, how are you? Good to see you.
Good seeing you again, huh? How you doing? Great. Saw my buddies that helped out with that, getting all the air conditioners out this summer. Okay, y'all come up here. There we go. Plenty of room on Mary Ann's dais. Okay, American Red Cross Month.
Yes, sir.
Okay. March 2012. The month of March, the American Red Cross asks all Americans to join its movement and help carry out its life-saving mission with a gift of time, money, or blood. American Red Cross fulfills a vital role in our community. It prevents and alleviates suffering in the face of disaster and is a true reflection of the humanitarian and volunteer spirit of the American people. Our community depends on the Red Cross, American Red Cross, and because it's not a government agency, the Red Cross depends on support from the public. In these challenging economic times, which impact the Red Cross and many people in our community and across the nation, so therefore I, Jay Dean, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Longview, do hereby proclaim March as American Red Cross Month in Longview. Thank you all for all that y'all do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank y'all for all you do.
Thank you.
And y'all make sure to invite some of these council people over when y'all start doing the blood drive now. I'm kind of a chicken.
You be the
Thank
first
you.
one on the list.
I'll be the first one on the list as long as y'all can resuscitate me when I pass out. I don't like blood. No, okay. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Anything, camera, anything?
Do we have a camera or anything? Yeah, we got a camera. Sean, y'all come back here real quick. Oh, they got a picture. He's ahead of you.
Just as a point of reference, this weekend with all the floods and the stuff that are going on, we have 29 individuals in our community that are on standby this weekend to deal with any flooding or any excess weather problems we may have. So we're trying to be there all the time when we're needed.
Well, y'all are. Thank you very much for y'all's service. Okay. Yeah, Texas Public School Week. First, we have the Longview ISD. Brian Bowman. Here. Okay, well, come on up. And I have several students, huh? Y'all come up here. Hannah Bradshaw, Tim Clay, Austin Henry, Elizabeth Rabadan, Shay Massey, and Gustavo Corrales. Did I miss anybody? Good Lord, what position you play? Offensive line. Cool. Offensive line. 8th grade? Yeah. Oh, dog. Let me talk to you about LSU when we get finished. Man. I wish I'd have been that big in the 12th grade. All right. Okay, so this is to a proclamation commemorating Texas Public School Week, recognizing Longview ISD, March 5th to the 9th. Longview ISD believes in excellence for all, one student at a time, with a high focus on academic achievement that serves all students in the Longview area. Longview ISD proudly offers the esteemed International Baccalaureate program in the primary years and middle years. Longview ISD is a leader of course selection in advanced pre-AP and AP courses, in addition to offering dual credit courses through Kilgore College. So therefore, I, Jay Dean, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Longview, do hereby proclaim March 5th to the 9th as Texas Public School Week in Longview. Thank y'all very much. I'm going to give this to you only if you come talk to me about LSU. All right, thank y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Oh, Alabama. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. He's already promoting Nick Saban over here. Come on, man. Okay, we have another proclamation, Texas Public Schools for Pine Tree ISD. Who's here from Pine Tree? Let's see. We have Donna Pruitt. Okay, and we have Nathan again. All right, Nathan Wood. How y'all today?
You're great.
Okay. So this is to recognize Texas Public School Week for Pine Tree ISD, March 5th to the 9th. Pine Tree ISD focuses on a primary goal of excellence in every classroom and in every program. Pine Tree ISD has instituted increased course selections in the areas of career and technology. Pine Tree ISD has increased incentives in pre-K, 6th grade through 6th grade to increase literacy and numeracy scores for all students. So therefore, I, Jay Dean, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Longview, do hereby proclaim March 5th to the 9th as Texas Public School Weeks in Longview. Here's to Pine Tree. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that's the president of the senior class? All right, man. I had my back now. I have my back. Okay. Let's see who we got. We have Tammy. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. We have Texas Public Schools for Spring Hill. We have my buddy, Miss Tammy Bailey, and Kenzie Smith, 5th grader. All right. How y'all doing?
Great.
Okay. Mom's coming up too? Oh, no? Okay. You sure? We can get somebody to take that picture. Okay. All right. How you doing, sweetie?
Good.
All right. Thank you for coming in all this rain. Coach, how you doing?
Good.
She knows a bunch of my kiddos, I know. All right. Texas Public School Week recognizing Spring Hill ISD March 5th to the 9th, 2012. Spring Hill ISD mission statement is providing education to address real-world needs. Spring Hill ISD is a highly qualified district as defined by the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001. Spring Hill ISD is pledged to fight childhood obesity by partnering with professional athletes against the childhood obesity and NFL Play 60 5K fun run, which I understand about 5,000 people may be there. Don't know where you're going to put them all, but bring them on. Okay, so therefore I, Jay Dean, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Longview, do hereby proclaim March 5th to the 9th as Texas Public School Week in Longview. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for coming. Coach, always a pleasure. Give this to you. Okay, thank all of y'all for coming. And I want to thank all of the school districts for the great job they do with our children. Thank y'all very much. We have we actually have two. We have a presentation of life-saving award to Officer Alex Charba, Chief Dingler. Man, it sure sounds good out there. I understand that Lake Cherokee, someone said, was just about back up to normal. Is that right? Hey, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor,
Yes,
Council,
sir.
Mr. Willard. Tonight, we have we're going to recognize Officer Alexander Chorba. I'll give you a little information about his award. On November the 2nd, 2011, Officer Chorba was on his way home from work on Danville Road in Kilgore when he stopped to offer assistance at a motor vehicle crash. Kilgore officers were already at the location, but Officer Chorba still felt the need to help. The vehicle that had a driver trapped in it began to burn, and the heat intensified to a degree the ammunition began discharging in the trunk of the vehicle. Officer Chorba and other law enforcement personnel disregarded the dangers and continued working trying to extract the driver from the vehicle while the other officers tried to suppress the fire until fire rescue arrived. The driver was eventually extracted from the vehicle. All officers involved in this incident worked together and disregarded the dangers of the situation. Their actions definitely saved the life of the driver. The department's Meritorious Conduct Board has recommended that Officer Chorba receive the Life Saving Award and the Medal of Valor. And that's what I have for tonight. Alex, tonight I have a plaque for you that says, in recognition of exceptional acts of bravery exhibited in the face of great danger, said acts presenting an imminent risk of serious bodily injury. There's that. Thank you, sir. And I also have the Medal of Valor. We give out very few of these, and so it's with, I appreciate the service that you provided, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Great job, Chief. Man. Okay, and the final presentation item is the fiscal year 2010-2011 Comprehensive Award Financial Report for Henry and Peters.
Thank you, Mayor. That's tough to follow. I want to express our appreciation again as a firm for allowing us to perform the audit again this year. I'm a partner with the firm of Henry and Peters here in our Longview office. With me is Adrienne Deason. She is our most senior audit manager in our firm, and she was the lead auditor in charge of the work that was done here. Many of you have probably met her from time to time, and she's instrumental in us being able to do this audit and complete the audit. Along with her, I want to extend my appreciation to David Willard, city manager, and to Angela Cohen, the finance director, and their staffs who made the work possible. When you look at this encyclopedia that you have in front of you, that's the work of Ms. Deason and Ms. Cohen. They put this report together. A lot of work went into that, obviously. I want to talk about a couple of things here. We are tasked as auditors. There are three parts to the audit that we do. The primary objective is an expression of an opinion on the financial statements that you have before you. That's our primary objective, and you will see in there, in the early on, there's a letter on our letterhead that is an unqualified opinion saying that the financial statements are in compliance and materially correct. It is an unqualified, which means it's a clean opinion on the financial statements. Rather than spend a lot of time with all the documents, as I have sometime in the past, I would like to direct you, at the very beginning, there are two separate letters or documents written by Mrs. Cohen with Adrienne's assistance that the first one is called a letter of transmittal. It's at the very beginning, and it's about 10 pages long, and it is a narrative that will give you a lot of information about the city, about what has happened in the last year, where things are going from here, and it is key to read that document, and then immediately after that, after those 10 pages, you'll see a couple of things, and then our letterhead, the opinion that I mentioned, and then you will see another roughly 10-page document that is called a management discussion and analysis that Ms. Cohen also prepared. If you will read those two documents, it's 20 pages, it'll take you a little bit of time to go through those, but it will step you through what is in this report. It will give you a basis for understanding the financial statements as a whole, what the report is, what you can find in there, what the results of the finances for the year fiscal 2011 were, and again in the letter of transmittal, some look forward information as well. One of the things that came to my attention immediately when you look at the management discussion and analysis, if you'll think back when we were here last year and you'd recently completed the budgeting process for the coming year, we were in a position as a city where we were tightening the belt, and the budget that you had approved for fiscal 2011 was tightening that budget, tightening that belt, pulling those expenses in as much as you possibly could, as noted in there, without sacrificing any key services. The good news is, and you'll read that in this narrative, on the government-wide financial statements, which take the typical fund financial statements that you will find in here and convert that to required financial statements that are more like what you see in the public sector, that have the equivalent of a balance sheet and an income statement. If you look at that, the net assets, which is the difference between the assets and liabilities, increased $7 million during the fiscal year. It's a very, very good increase, a very strong increase. One of the factors was tightening the belt. The other three primary factors, one, the property taxes that you collected were more than were budgeted. There was an increase there. The sales tax were significantly more than you had budgeted. There's another item of good news. And then one of the few bright spots that we can look at from the drought that we had last year was the amount of water that you sold. So that further put the city in a position to build some funds there for future things that need to be done in the water department, you know, when you look at infrastructure needs going forward. So overall, the city was in a good position before, but you pulled the belt in a little bit in anticipation of what might happen during the year. As fortune would have it, things went very well. So the fund balances, the net assets increased during the year, put the city in a much stronger position at the end of the year, the end of fiscal 2011, than it was at the beginning of the year. Again, if you will read those narratives, it'll take you through that. It will explain what's in the financial statements. It will allow you to understand where you can go if you have some questions about particular departments. So again, I would commend those 20 pages to your reading. That's the primary purpose, the expression of an opinion on the financial statements. There are two more pieces, and if you go very near to the back of the report, it's on about page roughly page 130, I guess. You'll find two more letters on our letterhead. One of these, we are, as part of our work, we make an evaluation of internal control. We do not audit internal control, but we make an evaluation of internal control in order to perform the financial statement audit that we do. To the extent that we've done that, we give you a report on that. That's the first letter. The next one after that, then, we are required to do a compliance audit of your state and federal programs. That's the second letter. Rather than go through those letters, what I would like you to do, if you would, is to go over to page 134. Very near the back. It's a schedule of findings and question cost. This page summarizes the two components that of the internal control evaluation and work we did and the compliance work we did. It mentions that we had just as we did with the financial statements, we had an unqualified opinion on the internal control work that we did and an unqualified work on the compliance work that we did. No material weaknesses, as you'll note there. We did have a few significant deficiencies that we're going to talk about next. Before we go into the significant deficiencies, and that term is an accounting term, it's something that means something to us auditors. I wouldn't let that term scare you off just in the beginning. But before we discuss that, if you'll remember when we were here last year, and it was the second year following up, talking about issues in the water department. And I would be remiss, did I say water department? I'm sorry. In municipal court. I would be remiss if I did not mention that obviously those were issues that I believe your expression, Mr. Dean, was let's get it fixed. And I'm happy to report based on, and that's what I'm happy to report based on our work. Obviously, that's an area that we evaluate every year. We came back, we did our follow-up work, looked back at the issues that we had identified in the previous year, and I'm happy to report that it is fixed, that everything is in good shape there.
I see the main reason why sitting in the very back.
So I'm happy to report that. Now let's talk about, there are 4 findings that I need to mention just briefly. The first 2 are related to the internal control work we did. The first one on page 135 was a deficiency in EMS billing. It's not an issue that they were not getting people billed or the money collected or weren't in the process of doing the things they needed to do. And we're auditors, we're accountants, we focus on these things. This was an accounting issue. It's a matter of doing the reconciling process to get the information at the end of the fiscal year to report the accounts receivable, to report the revenue in the format that it's supposed to be reported. They had some issues there. They weren't getting the accounting system, the receivable system closed properly, and so the information that was recorded as accounts receivable was off, and that was part of our audit, was identifying that discrepancy and the controls that were the problems they were having with the controls there. Part of that is in addition to identifying that the reconciling process needed to be done a little differently, we also identified that there were some control issues with segregation of duties, and I understand when auditors and accountants talk about that, everybody thinks, okay, that means we need to hire more people. Auditors, that's their safe haven that they run to. And that may be the answer. I think that is something maybe in the city's response that they've mentioned, and that merits your consideration. Primarily, our concern is that if that's what it takes, that needs to be done. But you have to segregate the handling of cash, the collections from the posting and accounts receivable, the adjustments that are made. So I think they're on the right track. They're moving in the right direction. They've changed some processes already, and they have plans for how that's going to be done. The next one, capitalization of construction cost. Again, this is an accounting issue. It's a matter of, in the fund financial world that governments live in, you have in revenue and expenditures. When we get to those government-wide financial statements where we bring those things into capitalizing cost onto the balance sheet, that's where the issue was. The process was in place, had some issues there. It didn't get captured exactly right. Was not quite complete. Mrs. Cohen and her department have worked. They've identified how to change that procedure, how to beef that procedure up. The corrections were made, and I'm confident going forward it won't be a continuing issue. Again, those two are internal control issues and related primarily to accounting matters. The last two findings are related to the compliance. We are required to do some compliance audit work related to the revenues, the grant monies that you receive, the program monies that you receive. The first one there on page 137 was the housing assistance payments. There were payments that are received from for the housing program from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development that there are forms that are filled out that prescribe the payments that are to be made. The forms and the payments did not match on some of the items we selected, on one of the items we selected, I should say. In this case, actually, some benefits that were to be paid did not get paid. They've since been corrected. Those payments have been made. The landlord those payments have been made to them. Typically not something that you would expect that you have to worry about. Typically, you'd expect that landlord would be letting you know very quickly that he had not received the money that he thought he was due. But in this case, it did happen, yes.
Excuse me, I just want to make a point because that's important. It's not like the recipients, okay, the people that are getting the housing, the people that qualify for this low-income assistance, they didn't get shorted.
That is correct.
It was the landowner or the apartment owner who got shorted.
Because the money does not go to them directly.
Right.
It goes to a landlord, it goes for utility assistance, those kind of things.
Right.
Those payments, that's where the shortages came in. Those have been rectified. And again, they, as you can see in the management's response there, they've identified the errors. They've taken care of that, and they're working on the processes to have a process to have that reconciling of that form that prescribes what was to be paid with the actual cash payments on an ongoing basis, so that will not happen. Okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. Frost.
This is not CDBG funds.
No, sir.
This is something that goes directly from the federal government to
Right.
the individual. It does not roll through our budget, right?
It does not roll through the budget. It does not roll through the budget, but it does come through the city before it goes to the
Yes,
landlord.
but it doesn't, but when we do our budgeting, that's not part of it.
No.
That's correct.
correct.
It's a pass-through.
And then the last item on page 138, I'm sorry?
Just 1 second. Let's see, I got 3 people.
It was just one incident, right, for this particular one? I think
Yes.
okay, just to
Yes.
clarify.
Okay.
Okay,
In
thank
our,
you.
yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Manley.
I also thought it was significant, just to clarify, this total of $3,300 is only 1.5% of a $4.7 million
Right.
budget. So
Right.
while we don't want any kind of error like this to happen, it was relatively insignificant and not reoccurring, correct?
Right, that is correct. And I would say that, and I would have, hopefully would have said that after this last comment anyway. When you look at these 4 items by definition are negative in nature. Our staff, we had a number of people here for an extended period of time. You've got departments all over the place. You've got numerous transactions, kinds of transactions. When you think in the grand scheme of things, 4 findings like this, none of them rose to the level that we considered to be material weaknesses. This is I don't want to say insignificant because it's not insignificant, but it bodes well that the things are being done well.
Mr. Allen had a question.
I think you've explained what I wanted would be for people that might be watching on TV, to explain to them that these are very, very small amounts that we're talking about here. This is not a ongoing problem. It's a very,
Right.
1% or less than 1%.
That is correct. And part of it's the nature of these 2 findings. These are compliance issues related to grant programs, and there is no immaterial amount when you have a finding there. If we find something, we report on that. So.
Okay.
And then the last one on page 138 is titled Davis-Bacon Act. This is related to the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program. monies that were received and are to be expended for payroll cost, as it mentions here. The city is required to, in these programs, to comply with the Davis-Bacon Act that requires you to get reports that demonstrate that the contractors are being paid the prevailing wage for the work that they do. The city contracted with an engineering firm. The engineering firm then hires those people, and they are responsible for getting that report. And in this case, it was one that fell through the cracks. In a typical situation, this is done all the time. We found an instance where that paperwork was not in the file. It's required to be in the file. It can be viewed as a nitpicky finding, but again, it's a finding that we have to bring to your attention, because if the grantor had come in and found that, then they call into question, the funds. That the document has since been obtained, was available, just had not been obtained and was not in the file. So that situation's been rectified, and the city has, as you can see in the response there, management's response, is beginning to work on a plan to make sure that kind of thing can't happen again. Ultimately, it was the contractor was responsible to get that, but then the ultimate responsibility to comply with Davis-Bacon falls back to the city, and we just need to shore that up and so that doesn't happen.
Okay. Great job.
That's all we have.
Great job.
Again, appreciate you allowing us to do this, and we enjoy the relationship, and again, appreciate all the hard work that Mr. Willard's staff, Mrs. Cohen and her staff, that they've done to help us this year.
Thank you very much. Sally Reese, stand up, please, ma'am. Last year, we asked y'all to get it fixed. And Sally, I want to say to you and your staff, thank you very much. Y'all done a great job. Y'all keep y'all foot on the pedal, though, okay? Thank y'all. Yeah. I know Angela worked on it too. I'm not going to forget any of your people. Angela, thank you also for the great job, okay? And you didn't give me a chance.
Okay.
I mean, Angela, listen to what Mr. Manley just said. Of all the many executions of data and finances and everything that goes on in this city goes to Ms. Cohen and her department. And yeah, we'd like to be zero based, where there was nothing, but that's not reality. And so thank you very much too, Angela, for your great job. Oh, and let me not forget about Mr. Willard. Great job, Mr. Willard. Golly. Okay, let's go forward here. Okay, discussion item. Where's my friend there? Mr. Dwayne Archer is going to tell us about the preparation and publication of a request for proposal for the collection of curbside recyclable materials and processing. And let me prep this, that at our recent retreat council, we asked Mr. Archer and his staff, along with Mr. Bonds, to come to the council with a potential quotation or RFP for us to take a look at, and that's what we're going to do tonight, correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
All
Mayor,
right, Dwayne.
Council, Mr. Willard. Tonight we'll look at the request for proposal that we've prepared for the curbside recycling collection and the processing. We're going to ask the proposers to provide in their proposals a few items. It's a weekly collection of single-stream recycled materials, and as you know, that's where it's mixed in together and it's sorted at a MRF, or a material recovery facility. That the materials be processed at a material recovery facility, that public education be provided, that monthly tracking and reporting of the collection volumes and the participation rates are reported to the city on a monthly basis. Recycling collection is provided to city facilities at no additional cost. The collection take place between 7:30 a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. That 95-gallon recycling collection carts are provided. That front door service is provided to our assisted collection customers, those that have trouble physically getting it out. The collection of all the types of recycled materials we currently accepted will be accepted. That the proposer maintain or provide and maintain a local number or an 800 number so that our citizens will be able to contact them. A couple other things as far as the RFP goes, that the term would be a 5-year term with the option to renew for an additional 5 one-year periods. Billing would be handled by the city to the customers, and the proposer would own the recycled materials collected. Kind of the heart of the proposal is this rate sheet. There's 3 sections. The first one is residential collection. What we asked the proposer to do is give us a rate of what they would propose to collect from our residents, and then they have to choose one of these 2 options. Either they're going to bill this rate to all the residential units, whether they participate or not, offer it to the residential units that choose to participate. And based on what they do, that would decide how many carts are delivered, if they're delivered to just those participating or to every collection unit. Then the second area is proposal for, the proposer would agree to offer the hand load commercial. That's the small commercial operations, lawyers' offices, and things like that, where we offer recycling currently. And then the proposer would agree to compensate the city for an amount based on each ton that they collect. So if there's any questions. That's it.
Man,
Real
that
close.
was neat.
You should all have gotten a copy of it.
Yep.
And if there's any
Who wants
questions.
to go first? Mr. Allen and Ms. Manley?
Yes, thank you. Had quite a few comments from the people in my district that were concerned with the larger size of these 95 gallons. What if a person wants to participate, but they don't want the 95-gallon container? They want to stay with the current smaller size recycling container that they have now.
Well, we would have to see what the proposers propose. Now, the city's proposal would include, we'll pick up that 18-gallon container they're using now, and wouldn't change a thing. We would just offer a 95-gallon cart available to the customers.
All right, now, one thing I wanted to make sure, one of the options is on a subscription basis where only the people that wanted the large containers would pay an additional price. Was that one of the proposals here?
Well, actually, what that's saying is a company that's going to pick up in Longview, do they want to charge only those people that are going to participate, or do they want to charge each of our customers?
Okay, so they could go either way, or do they?
They could go either way. More than likely, the city would be the only ones that would say, we want to offer that as just a subscription to those that wish to participate. Most of the haulers are going to say, I need to make sure I have the revenue from everyone in Longview so that I can do it.
Do you have, as a side question, do you have any idea currently how many people are recycling on the recycle day?
We run about 6,100 people recycle, about 25% of our citizens.
About 6,100?
Yeah.
Okay.
Housing or people?
Houses, those separate customers, those homes.
Okay, Ms. Manley, you good? Anybody else?
I was
Mr. Frost?
concerned also about the conversations I've had with people, is the tub is big enough. 18-gallon, that's fine, they don't want a bigger one.
We've received a lot of those calls too.
One fellow says one size don't fit all, you know.
Yes, sir.
So, and that's what we have, I think that's what we have to look
Well,
at.
that's something for the bidders to tell us. But I mean, that's each person's prerogative. I mean, to some people, the small blue container's enough. Maybe there's one person in a house or just 2 people. But there again, we have to offer the people that house a lot of kids in the house and a lot of
understand that. Yeah,
so.
I agree with you.
But I mean, we have to be careful that the message doesn't go out that we're not going to do the bigger carts, because 25%. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that personally to me is the key. We've got to get that number from 25% to 50% on up to 60, 75%. And that number down there where it agrees to compensate the city for X amount for each ton collected, that's where you're going to see the advantage to really some of those bigger carts. So, what else, Mr. Archer?
I think that's it. If there's any other
I think
questions.
you gave us everything we wanted, Ms. Casher.
Mr. Archer, it's a very comprehensive proposal, and it's obvious that you took everything that we asked for into consideration. I like the fact that there are a lot of choices on there, because as the mayor has drilled in everybody's head since day one, there are so many different components to the whole recycling process. So I just want to thank you and your staff for the work that you've done, because I read it, I understood it, and what I didn't understand, I called. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cashin. Anything else? Okay, so when are we going to actually put this out?
We'll get started on getting it out tomorrow.
Pardon me, tomorrow?
We'll start working on getting it
And
out.
when will, what is it, a 30-day or?
I think you give them a couple of weeks to prepare their proposal and get it back to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everybody knows it's coming, yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Frost.
Now, is the city gonna come up with a proposal too also?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think 30 days that would be reasonable if they have, to give them time.
Well, they have a standard that they do. If it's 2 weeks, I'm sure that Dwayne's already gotten the calls from some of the other people that are going to bid to see when this thing's coming out.
Yeah, there's been some
So do you think
conversation.
2 weeks is a reasonable period of time?
I think we normally get 15 days, so
Oh, is that right?
we'll get
Okay.
that out to them.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Great job, Dwayne.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, council consent agenda. Any item on the consent agenda? Mr. Allen, you don't put it in?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Oh, and Mr. Frost. Darn.
On the, water line between the Pine Tree and Gilmer, what area does that serve? Or is it gonna serve?
Is that the Excel?
Deliver the Lake of the Pines water to the western portion of town.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
So the Pine Tree area
That's
Yeah.
correct.
of town?
Yeah.
Okay. What, tell me exactly where, I know it's between Gilmer and Pine Tree, but where does it actually?
George Ritchie Road.
Goes
Comes down George Ritchie?
Parallel to George Ritchie Road, yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Starts at Gilmer and goes all the way to Pine Tree Road. We have a 12-inch water line on Pine Tree Road, and it dead ends at George Ritchie right now, so we'll connect to that.
So by doing that, are we gonna reduce the number of people in the Pine Tree area that are still on the Sabine water?
Will help deliver Lake of the Pines water to that area also. Right now, they get Lake of the Pines water, but not as much.
Right, okay, good.
That's correct, though.
Good. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Keith. If not, may I have a motion? Have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item 8 is a zoning public hearing item. Consider application PD 1203 filed by Carl Warwick. Mr. Shirley.
Thank you, Mayor Dean, members of council, Mr. Willard. The applicant is requesting to amend Plan Development PD 45 to amend the front setbacks on 2 of the lots and amend a lot line where there was a illegal plat amendment in the past, just to correct things up and make it similar to the lots across the street. Planning and Zoning Commission staff recommend approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, council? Mr. Manley.
Is this the area where David Kerner purchased the land from the homeowners last year?
It's actually on the opposite end of the neighborhood.
Okay.
and
All
pull
right,
up
good.
the
All right,
map.
so I got my wires crossed. Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Kerner's property is down here. Mr. Warwick's is down here on this end.
Answer my question. Thank you.
Okay, I have Carl Warwick here for comments if anybody has any questions. Mr. Warwick? Mr. Warwick, where are you? There he is, okay. Anybody have any questions, Mr. Warwick? Thank you for being here. This item requires a public hearing. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak to this item? If not, public hearing is closed. Council may have a motion.
Move to approve.
Have a motion. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. I don't see Kevin. Oh, no, I spoke to Chuck about a problem we got going on Oak Creek Ridge. I don't know if you got any phone calls about it. But it seems to be that a number of skunks have moved in to Oak. It's not funny because it's true. Oak Creek Ridge, which borders on the golf course, and I got a number of calls this week that they had a stinky problem going on. So I'm gonna get Chuck maybe to get us a follow-up on what took place there. Okay. Council, next item is an action item to consider a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the city of Longview, the tax increment reinvestment zone. Mr. Ewing.
Thanks, Mayor, members of council. I did not put the skunks there, I promise you that. So.
I just want you to get
But
rid of them over
we
there.
will pursue them
Okay.
expeditiously, I promise. So.
Operation Eradication.
The item before you is an agreement that will allow for the Longview Redevelopment Authority. This is an authority that the council approved application for last summer. And it's in association with the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Board. What it is a local government corporation that would be empowered to act on behalf of the city to manage and support economic development projects within the reinvestment zone area. The same board that is appointed by council as the Reinvestment Zone Board would also serve as the board for this redevelopment authority. Council would have authority would approve the budgets and approve any type of economic development agreements that would be entered into with developers in any type of project. So this agreement, again, empowers them to begin their work. They will meet next month and begin moving forward that process.
Good job, Chuck. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Allen?
Is this the same area that we talked about previous year or two back that goes all the way out north and south Longview? And I thought we already had a board and everything.
You do. You have a reinvestment zone board.
Yes.
This same board would also serve as the governing body of this redevelopment authority, which is which is a local government corporation similar to LEEDCO. Now what we do is take that quarter-cent sales tax and provide it to the Longview Economic Development Corporation. This board would be provided those incremental funds that would be collected to do projects.
Now, these funds are collected. They would get the benefit of, understand, is for additional investment. It's for additional funds that's collected due to new businesses and such as that.
Increase in property values. Yes,
Increase in property. Yes,
sir.
thank you. That's the way to say it. Yes.
Okay, any other questions? If not, may I have a motion? Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Council, that leads us to items of community interest, and we'll start over there with Mr. John Sims.
Well, I don't have anything tonight, Mayor, but I would ask that my friend Darrell be excused tonight. I'm sure the only reason he's not here is was very
Work-related, I believe, is what I understand.
Yeah, probably was.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Can I have a motion to excuse Darrell? Have a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, thank you, Mr. Sims. Ms. Cashin?
Just want to wish everyone an enjoyable spring break, and want to thank Longview High School once again. I had an opportunity to speak there last week, and I'd like to say hello to Ms. Christy Candler Green and Longview High School students, and thanks again for the opportunity. I'm an old Lobo, and I really enjoyed it. Go Lobos.
Come on now. Okay, Mr. Frost?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Manley?
Yeah, something that I want to bring to the council's attention, I think everybody would be pleased to hear, and also our citizens would. Hearing all the rhetoric on TV about the national budget and the increase in the amount of money that our federal government's spending, the increase in employment at the federal level, I called Ms. Miller, one of the manager's office, and asked Ms. Miller to give me a comparison between the 2008 budget and the 2012 budget, which basically is 5 fiscal years, as far as what our budget was, general fund budget, not the total, general fund, and the number of employees. And I'm pleased to tell you that our budget was up about $4 or $5 million, which is about 10%, but a lot of that has to do with some of these large projects we've been doing. Effectively, our budget was maybe up not more than 2 or 3%, and the number of employees was basically unchanged. There was a couple of people added on full-time and lost some part-time, but basically unchanged. So I feel good about that, in that in these economic times, we're delivering, I think, some real fine services to our citizens, with some real fine people at the staff, doing it with basically the same amount of dollars and the same number of people they had 5 years ago. Kudos to our city staff.
Good perspective, Richard. Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Looking forward to that rain we're supposed to get this weekend.
Good. I hope we get some more. And by the way, that skunk problem is in your district?
Well, it's kind of, since you brought it up, I'd like to commend the city animal control officer, because we actually had a couple of skunks inside our building where I work, and they came out one morning and took care of the problem. And there's quite a, it's a...
It is
that's
There
right.
is definitely a technique. And
Yes,
again, I
there
don't want
is.
to take this lightly, because I know the people on, of course, the guy that called me said, I know you're going to laugh when I tell you this, but it's true. But I mean, I know they are very, very concerned. You know, skunks do carry rabies, and we want to do everything we can. It looks like with these early rains, thank God we're getting the rains, but it's kind of run a lot of different kinds of animals out of the woods and whatnot. So hopefully, I know staff's working on it. Okay. I have several things. Please remember to move your clocks forward Saturday night, and remember to change your batteries in your smoke detectors. Early registration for Learn to Swim has begun in March. Classes will begin June 11. For more information, call 903-237-1270. Adult softball and kickball will continue registrations until the deadline Monday, March 12th. For more information, call 903-237-1270. Women in Longview's Day is Thursday, March 22nd from 8 a.m. to 1:30 at the Maud Cobb Convention Center. Tickets are available at Texas Bank and Trust downtown or Barron's. For more information, visit www.womeninlongview.org. And I want to pass on one other thing to our sister city right here with the White Oak Roughnecks are going to what's considered the Final Four of high school basketball down in Austin. They play tomorrow morning against a team that won state last year. And we want to pass on good luck to them, and hopefully they bring a trophy back to their home. I know the city will be very proud. Council, we have nothing else. Meeting's adjourned.